Welcome to a sunny St. Moritz in Switzerland. We are ready for the second deciding heat of the women's bobsleigh race. After our field has been cut from 24 sleds to 21, the fastest go through into the second and deciding heat. I'm Martin Haven. Sitting alongside me is our bobsleigh expert, John Morgan. And John, this St. Moritz track has just got a very special ambiance all of its own.
Well, it's the birthplace in the history of the sport of bobsled and skeleton. Here's our highlights from the first run. Shelley Rudman, the world champion, won the world championships last year on this track. She hasn't forgot the lines, didn't have great speed on the exit of Horseshoe, but she has put herself in medal position as we would expect. There's her partner, Kristen Bromley, looking on, and both of those athletes have done very well on this track. And here's a surprise, Janine Flock of Austria. She won her first ever World Cup medal in Lake Placid 2 events ago. And this young Austrian slider has been coming on every event, seems to improve, and she impressed everybody with their finish time. Her coach Martin Rettel knows that he's got a rising star. Elizabeth Yarnell from Great Britain, well, she's also tied for second place. This is our World Cup leader. Medium low line and the exit of Horseshoe, didn't have a great transition to telephone, but on the bottom part of the track, her time was good enough to be tied for second place. But the lady who did it all in the first run, Noelle Pikus-Pace, the 2007 world champion in this track. She drew number 1, which is supposed to be a disadvantage, but boy, did she fly down the track. Speed, as you would expect her to have, and she's the leader. And usually when you're the first person down the track in St. Moritz, you're at a disadvantage. It wasn't to Noelle Pikus-Pace.
So Noelle Pikus-Pace by 35 hundredths of a second over a very tight battle. Noelle, a world champion on this track. Lizzie Arnold, winner here 2 years ago in World Cup. Shelley Rudman tied for third, world champion on this track last year. The girls who have won all the medals in the last 5 or 6 years are at the top of the field. The fast 21 sleds go through into the top 20 because we had a tie for 21st place, and so we will resolve that as our first athletes go down. Unlike yesterday where it was about +2 by this time of day, still the ice temperature down, -2.5, getting towards -3. Little bit of a colder day, and that's important because we've got 3 full races to get underway here today. So in reverse order of their first heat performance, the athletes will go, 21 of them, with Noelle Pikus-Pace, who was first out this morning, going last to defend that lead. And John, she'll be as relaxed and pleased to be sliding here as ever, I'm sure. 21 sleds in the second heat, the deciding run of the women's skeleton. Eiko Nakayama was tied with Lelda Predjelena of Latvia for 20th spot, so both go into the top 20 draw. Nakayama was the second to set the time, so she's first on the ice. She got in by bumping her teammate, 34 years old rather, from Nagano in Japan.
And the Japanese men had a great result here in St. Moritz, as they did in Winterberg last week. It's great to see the Japanese starting to peak as they go into Sochi. And this is the second to last race before the Olympic teams are announced. And so there's a lot of personal bests and Olympic qualifying selection procedures from each nation, all determined on the results of this race and the race next week in Eagles.
Nakayama got into the sport. She was a journalist working in the Nagano Games in 1998, and so that's how her involvement started. She's still representing her country It's a neat-looking slide, John. You've got to avoid getting sideways and just be as relaxed on the sled. And the speed at the bottom, over 80 miles an hour, that's pretty hard.
Through and down, 1:11:33, so she's 500ths faster in her second run than her first run. That's relative to this track's going to speed up. And there's a good chance of us seeing track records, and which is not normally the pace on one of the artificially cooled tracks that we're accustomed to. The start. Look at this. Look at her hands come up. Look at her fingers come up. Look like a track athlete. Now she's got to think about crossing hands over, jumping on, and not altering at all out of the grooves. And here's the exit of horseshoe. Look at her head. She's steering. She's trying to get that exit of horseshoe.
Here, okay.
Our race leader, Eiko Nakayama, the woman with whom she was tied, Lelda Pregelena, young enough to be her daughter. Just 20 years old, this young Latvian, made her World Cup debut last year. And of course, she trains with the Ducours brothers, who finished 1-2 in yesterday's men's race.
Yeah, she's a young, upcoming athlete. You know, the Latvians are very good in two-man bob, very good in four-man bob. They dominate skeleton.
Going horribly wrong for her.
They don't have a women's bobsled team, and this is their only female athlete on the World Cup tour.
You saw her steering desperately there. She was tied with Eiko Nakayama after the first heat. She's gone behind, but that loss of speed in those long, slow straightaways, the first two, is going to really haunt her all the way down the run.
Yeah, I think this is a young athlete pointing towards Pyeongchang in Korea in 4 years, and, you know, 19 years old, and got them Ducours brothers, who again went 1-2 yesterday in the men's event, and I'm sure she's got a few technical secrets that they provide her. But it's still, you got to drive the sled. I mean, it's not the arrow, it's the archer, and you still got to come down the track at 80 miles an hour and figure out the little idiosyncrasies to have speeds that allow you to take the lead.
Well, she's in the red, she is behind, and she goes a third of a second back on Eiko Nakayama. And we will see again, I'm sure, that run out of the first nameless kink on the track, because that second straight is the one that cost her all of that time.
Yeah, Nakamura, the Japanese slider, was faster in the run, and this Latvian slider was slower by 0.2. So, and here's the mistake, Martin. Up here, you got to be so quiet, so straight, and watch her drift to the right side. Now the feet are coming out, and that's like throwing out an anchor in this part of the track. Very flat up there. They're only going about 35 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, and you can't make a mistake like that.
No wonder she doesn't look happy. This girl won't be looking happy either if her second run is not a massive improvement on her first. Marion Tace of Germany. Normally on this track, John, we expect her not to start among the fastest, but to drive her way into contention. But for her, the first run was just a horror story.
All the Germans, this is a world champion. And this is a girl who wins events with the 19th best start on a 1,400-meter track in Königstein. She won the world championships. She won every heat. You know, she's an extremely talented glider, which means she gets down to the bottom part of this track. She could attain speeds that no one else could match, but she didn't do that in the first heat. And very, very perplexing that she's down in the position she is, and her teammate Anja Huber isn't much better.
Yeah, between her and Anja Huber, they have 3 world championships in the last 6 years, and yet they were almost at the tail of the field.
Speed on the right side of your screen. She's a quarter second late, 101.7. Keep your eye on that speed.
She was 10th up on the Japanese girl from the first heat.
And this is what she does now. There, now she's pulling away. Look at her form. She is a speed merchant. She knows how to just meld into that sled like butter and let it fly. Look at her, 131.7. That is huge speed on the bottom part of the track. Almost 82 miles an hour, 110.64. And considering she went 111.28, she's 3/4 of a second faster in the second run.
That run in the first heat would have left her 8th.
Yeah.
Not 18th. So it is our race leader, Marion Tace of Germany, from Eiko Nakayama of Japan, and Lelda Pregelena.
Into the horseshoe. Look at the head. I see her moving her head from left to right. Look at the form. She doesn't drag her toes. Now the slingshot effect on the exit of this pivotal part of the track into telephone, perfect lines, and I would think that the speed she just attained could be some of the best in the competition.
Marion Tace in the white hat leads. Her teammate Anja Huber is tied with Michelle Steele, just ahead of Michelle Steele of Australia. Very close group of athletes, covered by just a couple of hundredths of a second. The Aussie with a very quick start, didn't make the best of it in the first run, and again dragging her toe to keep her away from the wall, but the magnets in the wall seem to be drawing her in.
Yeah, very uncomfortable on the sled at the top of the track. She had a mishap at the start last week in Winterberg, came out of the grooves. Now snake. This is a two-corner combination, little right, little left. Now with a Nash-Dixon. This is the Nash-Dixon curve named after the two British athletes that won the gold medal at the '64 Olympic Games in Innsbruck. Now one of the most famous curve in the world, horseshoe, medium high. And now the speed, 100.8.
Much better slide from Michelle Steele. She's ironed out all the dramas from the first heat. She's 4/10 up on Marion Tace. Little wild, though, as she comes out of Shamrock and through Devil's Dyke.
Wow, this is skidding there up before Gunter Sachs, the famous industrialist with so much to do.
She's gone from half a second up to 300.
Not the speed of Tace. She's going to be behind her. Look at that.
Wow.
1:11 flat.
From half a second up to 3/10 behind, John. That was a horrible bottom part of the track.
Well, I don't know if it was a horrible bottom part of the track as much as it was a great run from Marion Tace, who's a speed merchant. This track is her persona. So she just didn't have a good first run. Look at her head here. Look at her head, comes way up to look. That's not aerodynamic, correct. And down here, she has a little bit of a skid going, and Gunter Sachs, look at that, sideways across the ice at 80 miles an hour. That's why Marion Tace caught her right there.
Michelle Steele lies in second place. Anja Huber, 2008 world champion in women's skeleton. She considers herself to be the old woman of skeleton. Now 30 years old, she's competed in over 70 World Cup races since she was a real youngster.
Used to be one of the dominant athletes in the first 50 meters. Now everybody's caught up to her. But I'm very perplexed about the Germans. You know, I said in North America they were sleeping. And, you know, when I got to Europe here, they would improve. But not so good in Winterberg. So it's a very, you know, this girl here is the world champion. She's got 40-something World Cup medals. For her to be back in this position is, again, when I'm lost for words to describe something, you know, but either they're sleeping and they want them to peak at the Olympic Games.
Well, certainly they want that, but they need to be showing some form now. She's half a second up nearly, but that's drifting away. 100.7.
She's a kilometer speed down to her teammate. Now it's 30, and she should have enough here. I would think she's going to have enough here in the bottom, but she can't afford any kind of a skid like we just saw Michelle Steele have from Australia.
She's clean. Yeah. There was 700s between her and Marion Tace in the first heat. 130.7, still a kilometre an hour slower than Marion. There was 700s in the first heat. She comes out 1200s on top after 2 miles of ice. At 80 miles an hour down the bottom, not enough.
62 hundredths of a second better in her first heat, but, you know, she beats up Tace by 3/10 of a second in the first 50 meters. This is a great athlete here. Look at the feet. Look at the hands coming up for the thrust like a track and field athlete. Then get on. You have to get on quietly. She almost overloaded to the left a little bit. Now the start grooves will go away. Look at her eyes looking for that point reference. She wants to get on that first curve.
Always a smile from Anja Huber, our race leader. From Marion Tace, her compatriot, Michelle Steele of Australia in third. Expect a big start from Yelena Nikitina of Russia. 5:25 getaway in the first heat. Second fastest starter. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action. 5:23, that's very quick.
Yeah, this is a sort of a postcard of what the Russian program is. This young athlete came out of nowhere last year. She's only like 21 years old. She's medaled before. She's one of the best starters in the field. She could do something in Sochi with that start time she's got and the amount of trips she's going to get on the track as an advantage.
She needs to know that track well. Watch her toes, her right toe, her left toe dragging along, tiny little corrections, but John, it's slowing her down every time she does it.
It's experience right there, speed on the left. 98, 3 kilometers down to Thies, and Huber at the bottom. I would think that time's going to be pretty much in the red pretty quick. Yeah, 28, no, she's holding on.
She hit the wall so hard into telephone. Let's see what she's got left. She lost 1/3 of a second already, and there will be more going away. If she clicks 129.
10, 129, 2 kilometers. This is going right to the 100th of a second.
It's going to be close, but I think Huber will hold 300ths of a second.
Yeah, that's an inexperienced slider. Coach Willie Schneider looks on, and he knows his athlete is got a lot more trips ahead of her. She's a great athlete. I mean, and say this is a great track and field sprinter who will really make a lot of noise in this sport in the next 4 years, unless the Russians find 25 more to replace her. There's the skid. That's the cause to all the problem on the exit of Horseshoe. Look at these lines. Look at the sled's airborne. Her feet are off. There's your right foot dragging. That's it. She lost 25 or 30 hundredths there.
She's just clinging on with her life there. Next up, you can see the Americans filming at the top of the track. This is Joske Leconte of the Netherlands. In fact, that's one of the Dutch break women, isn't it, from the women's bobsled. That was Judith Vis. Joske Leconte had a good first part of the run, but it drifted away with a couple of mistakes later on. Let's see if she can tidy up in her second heat and move up the order.
One of the better heats she's had in the season. She struggled to make the cut.
She was just 200ths in front of Jelena Nikitina, only 1/10 in front of Anja Huber, our current leader.
Drift, taps, and now she goes into the snake two-quarter combination. The names on these curves have been around a lot longer than these athletes. In fact, the names on these curves have been a lot longer than the grandparents.
That's true enough. He started racing down this hillside in 1884.
Almost the same spot from St. Moritz-Celerina. It's wow, what a tradition, what a place to come. It's magical here.
Slender lead at Horseshoe. She needs the exit. She has the exit.
Speed is not good, though. A couple of kilometers down. I got to believe red numbers, and it is the red numbers. Now the question is, how could she hold off Marion Thies? Because if she finishes at least second or third here, it's a good result for Joske Leconte.
It's all getting away from her down at the bottom of the track. She's behind on time. And
she's going to fall at least 2, maybe 3 places.
128.9 is 80.2 miles an hour. She's into 5th. That's a big drop. But those gaps were so close.
Andy Schmidt, the British coach, Austrian athlete who used to be a very great athlete. I think he was a world champion in his day.
Won a world championship, I believe, on this track in St. Moritz.
Yeah, and he coaches the British, but they also lend lease and assist to the Netherlands. And look at the line here. Look at her head. Is she trying to come off? Look at her. Head's down. She's looking up a little bit. Look at lagging that left toe,
yeah.
The rudder. And now she crosses over. A little late there. She's high on the exit of the curve. Now she's crossing over to the take-on of the curve. Pivotal part of that track, that Horseshoe. You need a slingshot effect on the bottom. She didn't have it.
Sleds being examined at the bottom of the track as Catherine Eustace of New Zealand prepares at the top. The Kiwi started 19th in the field, came down tied 14th with Joske Leconte of the Netherlands. There is your leader, Anja Huber of Germany. Not exactly looking overjoyed as she's picked up a couple of spots.
She belongs down in the top 6 or 7, not back in 17th or whatever she was. And this athlete here, Eustace, she did real well in this track. Top 7 or 8 finish last year. And like her teammate Ben Sanford, they both really liked the track. And her problem was, though, she did not have a very good first run at the top of the track. And she has the ability to be a speed master on the bottom, but you can't attain those speeds if you make any mistakes up top.
Still has the lead. She's growing it at Sunny. She's 1800ths up, 38 years old. Now, if Anja Huber thinks she's old at 30, Catherine Eustace still competing hard.
Exit here, 22, 101, 101.3. There's great speed. So now she's got that slingshot on the bottom. Now with no mistakes here. They're a little late there, though.
Still a third up, 2900s.
Doesn't look perfectly comfortable. One last albatross. This straightaway coming up right here.
Nice and clean. 129,
yeah, big
131.
speed,
Good
big speed. This is what she can do. If she would have done this in the first run, she'd have been the top 6 or 7 at least.
Well, we're seeing half a dozen athletes who had perplexingly disappointing first runs. Nicotina hugs Huber, but it is Catherine Eustace of New Zealand that moves into the lead.
80 hundredths better in the second run than the first run. Yes, you expect to go better here. The sun's out, the track's faster, but that shows you she did not have a good first run. Everything you're seeing here is perfect. Look at her eyes. Look at her feet. Now she's looking to look at the left foot dragging a little bit. She's trying to get that to control the take on. This is over to Bridge and big speed in the bottom. She did it all right.
Yeah, good run from Catherine Eustace to lead the race with 8 sleds down from our 21. Well, next up, Marina Giardoni of Switzerland, the ex-brakewoman, former junior world champion in the back of a bobsled. And Mickey Grunberger, the coach there, really pleased with the speed of this woman.
Yeah, look at the athleticism here. Look, you can just see the way she runs. You know what type of athlete she is now. She set the start record in the first run and didn't do it, 5:26.
Wow.
500ths off her start record in the first run. Surprising. And she's a third-year driver. She's learning how to drive a sled and hasn't adapted yet to figure out how to get the big speeds like the other athlete we just saw come down, Eustachius. But when she does, she will be a formidable competitor in women's skeleton. And she could, with her athleticism, she could look in Pyeongchang, Korea, and have a good career coming up in the next 4 years, because she will medal when she figures out how to drive.
She was 2400ths ahead of Catherine Eustace from the first heat. She almost doubled that, but now that's dropping back, and she doesn't have the speed.
2 kilometer speed down. So the next clock's probably like 15 or 16 hundredths ahead. 21, a little bit down, but she could still lose all this down on the bottom. She's going to need that big-time speed down on the bottom.
She's really working hard to control the sled. It's getting away from her.
There it is. It's gone.
No speed.
Now she's going to fall at least 1 place, maybe 2, but Eustachius will be the leader. There it is, 400ths.
Wow. So Catherine Eustace is the race leader. She picks up a spot. And going 0.8 of a second quicker than her first heat, she'd really hoped to pick up a couple of spots, Eustace.
Still, Marina, you'll see this young athlete from Switzerland in the next 4 years if she continues. With that start time, she should. Now she's just got to figure out how to drive. Now look at how high her head is. She's on the wrong side, the right side of the... Now she has to adjust. This is going into horseshoe. This is where you want the pivotal part of the track. Here down on the bottom,
look at the arm here. She's using a whole body to steer. She's so hard.
Very uncomfortable on the sled. And that's inexperience.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see a whole load of athletes retire after the Sochi Games, but we can already see the new blood rushing up the order behind them. And this is one of the newcomers for Germany. Young Sophia Griebel made her World Cup debut last week in Winterberg, Germany. And still just 20 years old. She's got a lot of future in front of her.
Yeah, she's Germany #1 at the moment, which is, you know, in the German camp, you know, their other 2 athletes are the ones that are favored to challenge for a medal.
Watch the shadow coming towards us. No movement from her toes. Look, nothing at all. She is just so relaxed on the sled, and the sled is behaving itself as a result.
And she's got the 3rd best start, decent start time. And again, this is a very young athlete. Just came out, last couple of World Cups. Big lead. Now the thing is, down here at Nash-Dixon, this is where you set yourself up. Your horseshoe isn't in horseshoe, it's set up right here.
She's just coming straight down the middle of the track through all these corners.
A lot of noise there.
But she doesn't take a high line. She's still got a quarter of a second. Can she improve?
Doesn't have speed. She's going to have to hold. Ooh, the feet were apart there. Down at 10. Nope. Losing time back to Eustache.
New Zealand is going to be ahead of all 3 German sleds here in St. Moritz. Now that sounds unusual, and it is.
Ooh, but no, maybe not. She's got good speed here.
Not as much as
right to the
Catherine
100th.
Eustace.
Going to be close. Oh, she
by
does.
300ths of a second, she
came on.
redeems.
Hey, she came on the bottom part of the track. Wow. She had great lines. She lost. She was up to 2800ths ahead, down to 10, down to 3, but she nailed it from Gunter Sachs down where it's 80 miles an hour. She nailed it. She was rewarded. The track said, you give us a good line here in the bottom. Here's below Horseshoe, and here is where she let it fly. Bridge into Gunter Sachs. This is when she really, the bullet form right there on the exit of that. Wow.
Well, she smiles as she takes the lead by 300ths from Catherine Eustace.
Top German.
Some redemption for Germany. She's the top German. There's still 11 sleds to come. Germany might not even get a top 10. Lucy Chaffer of Australia, the second of our Aussie athletes. Disappointment for her and Michelle Steele in the first heat. Lots of love to back home from Lucy Chaffer from Perth in Western Australia, 30-year-old teacher with a Bromley sled. Let's see what she can produce. Can she crack the top 10 here in St.
11th best start in the first run of a 5:44. The grooves are over. Now out of that first little curve, and 5:51. That is 700 slower than her first run. That is surprising.
Maybe she was looking for a little more control, took one step less, didn't really overstretch herself for the control into the first kink, and that paid off. She was neat and tidy, but she's got to catch up on Sophia Griebel's starting pace.
Yeah, Griebel really beat her up at the start by 1400ths. So the only alternative she has is perfect. Listen for the sound. Nothing, smooth. Oh, looks like she might hit early.
Yep.
Speed, 99, same as Griebel, so, or the German.
Exactly the same as Sophia Griebel. So this is going to be very close. 800s in it.
Yeah, she lost all that time. She had a bad exit of Horseshoe. She hit telephone, the take-on going in. I said, listen, and you heard that tap. She's going to have all she can do now to stay, to not drop 5 or 6 places.
She's going to lose a lot of ground here. 127.9 is the slowest speed we've seen at the bottom. 9th run only. She drops 7 spots.
Well, we talk about a pivotal part of the track. We keep talking about that little corner up there called Horseshoe. Just ate her alive right there. That exit of the curve, she dropped 7 places. Too bad, too. She knows it. There it is. Here, right to the tap, the take-on. She gets off of the outlet. She crosses over to the take-on. She hits before she gets in. That's it. There's no slingshot effect on the bottom part of the track when you do that. Then here, farther down on the bottom part of the track, same thing in Nameless. Yep. They just, mistake.
Tough day for the Aussies in St. Moritz, but we have 10 sleds still to go with Sophia Griebel leading from Catherine Eustace, with Germany, New Zealand and Switzerland the top 3. Well, John Morgan, the first thing everybody thinks of in this sport is speed, but consistency is so much a part of it. We're seeing a lack of that today.
I agree. You have to be consistent both runs, and the only consistency is down there at that Horseshoe Bar, Martin, where we would like to be.
Consistent quality of
down
viewing.
there, some great clue vines, and you know, there's such a wonderful place to promote and present the sport in the birthplace of the sliding sports, and it's just so much tradition here that you know, the people, and they're educated, they know the sport. They're walking right out of the downtown St. Moritz. The track's right in the middle of town. It's
tradition, history, and winter sport in winter weather, which is just so much a part of the equation.
Yeah, and you know, I've been coming here since 1982, and every time I get here, I just feel so privileged to be here. It's like, you know, if you're a Boston Red Sox fan, you go out there and deal with Fenway Park, or if you go to Wrigley Field, if you're a Cubs fan, if you go to Kiss the Bricks at Indianapolis, it's a privilege as a bobsled skeleton athlete to come here and compete, and with the history and the tradition and all the people that come. I saw 9 former Olympic gold medalists in the last couple of days hanging around the track.
And it's so hard not to be affected by it, no matter how young or how old. When they come here, from the coaches to the youngest athletes, they've all got this little glimmer of extra excitement coming to St. Moritz.
The place you want to be seen. Noelle Pike's pace. Her
She's our
family and friends here, boy.
race leader. They turned up last night, unexpected. She had no idea they were coming. She had no idea the big bobbleheads were coming with them either.
Yeah,
How did they get in the overhead lockers?
Yeah, she did the commentary yesterday with us.
Yeah, in the booth yesterday while the family were sneakily flying in behind her back, and she's rewarded them with the lead after the first heat. Top 10 to go in the women's skeleton race. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action as the Russian Maria Oliver comes ready at the start line. 10th after the first heat. Let's see what she can produce here. 4th fastest starter in heat 1.
5:33. We've seen a couple athletes go slower at the start. See what she does. I'm sure the coach told her, you better do it. There, 5:34, so that's close to what she did. She had good lines up top, and she's got 3 years under her belt. She has medaled, you know, but she's not Nikitina, that other Russian athlete we saw who has got, you know, the second best start.
Well, Maria was good on this part of the track in the first heat. She had a horrible exit from Horseshoe, and that cost her for the rest of the run. Let's see if she can iron out that error.
Now she's going to cross over here, get on the takeoff. Listen. Yeah, a little scratching. Not bad takeoff or outlet. 99.8, not the speed of the sled at the bottom. So she's going to have to hold on here. Now we're the only athlete we've seen really fine time on the bottom was Sophia Griebel from Germany. Usually with that exit, you make a mistake and the time just bleeds away.
Griebel, our current leader, both runs count, of course.
Oh, big speed though. This is a Russian who found some time in the bottom.
Much better run from Maria Oliver. She will take the lead by a massive margin,
wow.
And that could put her in the running for a top 6 position.
5,500's better. Everybody should get better in the second run. It's better conditions. The sun's coming out on the track. It's faster. But she likes it. She knows she had a great second run. Very impressed with her on the exit of Horseshoe all the way down the track because she didn't have that great speed, but boy, she found it. We heard a little scratching right there. Look at the left toe come down. Yeah. That's the scratching we heard. Now look at her head. Now she's a little high there. Look at the runner mark. She's way higher than everybody
but
on
she's
the
not
outlet.
Even looking.
But now she crosses over to the take-on and does not hit the before the take-on. But here on the bottom part of the track, she was like butter. Here's into telephone. Boy, she found it on the bottom part of the track.
Big smile from Maria Oliver when she's had a good run, and that was a good run. She leads with 9 to go. Teammate Olga Potilitsina just 400s faster. She was the top Russian in the first heat. Can she produce another top draw effort here?
5:40 start time in the first run, 5:42 in the second. Now watch this next picture. How straight can she come right down the middle of her track? Drifting a little bit to her right. Now she's going to come back left. Every little variance there is worth hundreds, and it takes away your speed. You just want to get to Horseshoe, exit the slingshot effect of Horseshoe, and take what Mother Nature gives you at the bottom part of this track.
Wriggling around on the sled all the way down here. Tiny little movements, all of which remove forward motion.
A little bit of noise, +7 speed, 101. She can work with that. That was a kilometer and a half better than her teammate at the bottom, but her teammate at the bottom was magical ride. It's dead even now. She's coming back.
Potilitsina only 129 kilometers an hour at the bottom in the first heat. She needs to get 131 at least.
+4,
no,
130.8. It's going to be close. There'll be a Russian as a leader at the bottom, though.
Russian 1-2, it is. Sophia Griebel pushed down, but Maria Oliver stays in the lead.
Oliver had a magical ride at the bottom part of the speed track, and that's why she's the leader. Her teammate got close to her, even up near Bridge, but in the bottom part of the track could not match her teammate's time at a 0.3 of a kilometer deficiency and a 1,400 deficiency on the clock.
And the face says it all, not happy.
Yeah, here's up Nash and Dixon. Look at the debris in the track on the right.
A little bit of tree.
And here's the exit of Horseshoe slingshot effect. Does she come over and hit the take on perfect? She skids over to it. She had better speed there, and she made the comeback. She got to with a lead, but couldn't hold it on the bottom.
Maria Oliver, our race leader, as Robin Thompson of Canada is next on the ice. This Canadian rookie made her World Cup debut only this season. She wasn't even a slider in Vancouver 2010, or at the Games, so she's really coming on fast. 8th place in the first heat, her first trip in World Cup to St. Moritz.
14th best start, 5:45. Look at that bullet form there.
And look how smooth she is. She's just totally relaxed.
14th best start time to have the improvement like she did. Look, she is coming straight down the middle of the track. And unlike the rest of her Canadian athletes, she's got a very plain helmet. All the rest of the Canadians got some beautifully painted helmets.
Think how much Moritz-Celerina was wriggling on the sled. She's not moved once.
No,
not once.
These feet, I swear to God, she's got a rope around those ankles.
Tie your shoelaces together makes it hard to run, though. She just hit a little bit of debris.
Listen in horseshoe. How quiet was that? Plus 18 down, 100.9, decent speed, but that 18 was relevant to the start. If she's perfect down here and gets the magical speed, down to 8.
Closing on Oliver, little rub on the wall though.
Has to be perfect here on the exit of Gunner Sachs, the high speed 80-mile-an-hour part of the track right here. Tap.
Tiny rub,
131.4, she's got a chance.
Gonna be very close indeed, too tough to read, good exit here.
No.
1200's back.
So that tap out of Gunner Sachs might have done it, because the speed trap is right there, and that tap might have been what threw away those 6/800ths on the bottom that we thought she was going to gain. Start gives up a lot of time here at the start, and the load isn't that good of a load. Watch it come over. See, her right foot hit the ground. She needs a little bit more experience, but look at these pictures.
Well,
exit of horseshoe. Take the outlet of the curve, get off the curve, then go over to telephone, get on the take-on. I think the mistake made down at Gunner Sachs cost her.
She could be around as long and as successfully as teammates like Melissa Hollingsworth. Sarah Reid of Canada is just a couple of seasons in front of her in terms of experience. And Sarah Reid, 7th after the first heat off a 3rd best start. And Sarah knows there is improvements that can be made in heat 2.
Now look at that helmet.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous helmet. And it matches her style. Aggressive but serene. Yeah. Look at her, how quiet she is.
Medaled a few times already this year. Won a World Cup last year in La Plagne, France. Diminutive in size, but look at the form. You know, you look at the Canadian athletes here.
Don't forget, John, bronze medal in the Worlds here last February as well, so this track can be good for her.
Big 3/10 lead. That can all go away with that little thing coming up called horseshoe.
Nice out of Nash and Dixon. Let's listen.
Wow!
Oh! And that's the end of the run for Sarah Reid, I'm afraid. So good through horseshoe and then slammed into telephone.
You know, I take a breath when the sled enters horseshoe and you wait for it to come out. And she was high and looked like she was going to get through. She's so close to get over in that take-on with a perfect slingshot effect, but she missed by about 4 or 5 inches.
And that'll be the blink of an eye. The steer was out, and it's the end of the run.
Yeah. How many places will she fall? Wow. The 15th best time of the run, 13th overall. Duff Gibson says, hey, Sarah, you were going for it. Yep. And he's the Olympic gold medalist from the 2006 Winter Olympics. And when he won that gold medal, he went for it in that final run.
I tell you what, that's going to hurt mentally and physically.
Yeah, but this is perfect. Look at the form. Look at the, the feet. Here, she's crossing over. Maybe came out a little early, and now watch. She comes on to the take-on, but she hits the sidewall before the take-on. And then it's history. She's separated from the sled. Look at this. See? About a foot. Airborne. Look at that. How does she even stay on the sled? But, boy, I tell you, if she would have made it through there, look at those pictures. Wow. You think, oh, if she would have got through there, she would have been really, really, really with some positive time.
Katie Eulander of the USA, the last non-English woman to win on this track. Let's see if she can produce a medal from here. Our top, our 2nd to 7th athletes are covered by a 1/4 of a second. It is definitely doable.
Katie's always done well on this track, but Katie, like Anya Huber, used to have one of the better starts. She used to win a lot of her events when she's won is because she's got a great start. She's got a very unorthodox way to drive down the track, and Katie's been suffering from concussion injuries most of the season, hasn't got to form. She didn't compete in Winterberg last week, and I'm sure she felt very good about her first heat. She was right in the mix.
400ths of a second behind. This is very close. The leader still, Maria Oliver from 10th in Heat 1. Good speed, best we've seen.
Yeah, and you won't see the feet tied together here out of Katie Eulander. This is not a promotional video how to drive, except if you look at the time.
Yeah.
She always looks rough, but she always has got great times. And again, she's won probably at least 8 or 9 gold medals in her career.
Look at the speed.
Speed, big speed.
Huge speed.
This looks to me like Katie Eulander's back.
Yeah, baby, 1:10.18. That is a great run, and that would have put her easily in second place after the first heat. Much improved.
You take Sarah Reed and you take Katie Eulander, you put them side by side. Sarah Reed has the textbook form coming down the track. Katie doesn't, but boy, they both have great results. Katie, though, got through Horseshoe. Sarah Reed didn't. And here in the speed part of the track, 80+ miles an hour. Look at her form. Look who had the best speed right there. Katie Eulander, I think that sort of says she's starting to come back.
Oh, yeah, she's back. Great shocker red hair this Olympic season. Katie Eulander, Maria Oliver, and Olga Posilitsina, your top 3.
Hi, guys.
Congratulations, Katie. Good for you.
Melissa Hollingsworth of Canada at the top of the track in what may well be her last season of sliding. I don't think she's made an official decision yet, but she's great company in the booth and great to watch on the track, and such a great stylist in her sliding.
5:44 in the first run, 5:42 here. She'll be your broadcast partner tomorrow in the men's skeleton event. And these lines up here you would expect from her because she's medaled on this track numerous times.
Rodeo rider during the summer, of course, and that's why she's got the horse skeleton on the helmet.
And look at her form. All 3 Canadian sliders all have the feet like that there's a rope tied around them.
She is the classical stylist, isn't she? And she always makes it work. And a classical sled as well, built by her cousin Ryan Davenport.
No scratch in there.
Smooth as silk, 900s up, best speed.
Well, close to 101.4, I think, is what Eulander had, so this is good speed. Eulander, though, flew down the bottom part of the track. Hollingsworth was just late in those 2 curves. So if this drops down to single digits, it's going to be extremely close.
Oh,
it is,
best speed.
But big speed, so she should pull away. Look at her form.
600s in the lead, coming into the final
Bow.
corner. She wins by 700s.
3rd best time of the run, but enough time in the bank from the first. And Duff Gibson, the coach, likes it, and Melissa Hollingsworth does what she does on this track a lot. She advances to the leader's box.
Duff Gibson, Kelly Forbes, the coaching staff, and
here's where she was late down below here. So look at that. That was a real rough transition. Then that cost her to come up here and be late on the next curve too. So her mistake she made 100 yards ago is still compounded on the speed part of the track.
Everything's linked together. She takes the lead from Katie Eulander as we have 4 sleds to go. Time for some medals. Well, not the greatest run ever. Big smile on the helmet of Shelley Rudman. Big smile on the face so often as well. Partner Kristen Bromley holds the sled he built as Shelley Rudman, the world champion on this track in February 2013, tied for 3rd place after the first heat, looking for another big medal result. She's got 3 wins here in 4 years.
Including the World Championship last year where she dueled with Noelle Pica's pace, and she won that duel. 47 in this first heat was her start, 50 here, 300 slower. Now, if you want to look at a textbook way how to slide on a skeleton sled, take a look at this one. I mean, take a look at this.
Nothing.
Now, I don't want to jinx her. Now, of course, you're famous for jinxing people in the booth here, but, you know, this is usually pretty good. Nash, Dixon coming up, which is going to be the pivotal part of the track for, there's the exit of Sunny.
Behind Melissa Hollingsworth by a fraction. She needs to find pace below the horseshoe. Here we go.
Listen. Ooh, a lot of scratching. There's an
line
800
is good.
lead. 102.4, that's the best speed. And now we'll see what she can do on the bottom part of the track. And she won a world championship last year with superior speed on this track. She knows how to meld into the sled and let it get to over 80 plus miles an hour out of Gunter Sachs, minus 30. Wow, she's flying. Could be a track record here. This is really flying.
Shelley Rudman aiming
There
for
it is.
gold, 109.95.
Whoa! Worst person below 10. No, it's Picus Pace. Picus Pace at 109.97 in the
Yeah.
first run. So,
And
Shelley.
133.3 kilometers an hour. That is the best run, though, from the run so far. Shelley Rudman has the lead, the defending world champion on this track.
You would expect it. And listen, look at the side, look at her head, how she's steering. You see her head steering? No, she got the toe drag a little bit.
Tiniest drag.
Tiniest drag, and then the speed, and boy, did she manufacture speed. Exit of this horseshoe gives you all the opportunity for the best speed in the bottom. She nailed it. That's why she was the first person to do what she just did across the board.
Shelley Rudman, the race leader. 3 still to come. Janine Flock of Austria, 3rd place. She's already had a World Cup medal this season with the Holy Cow logo on the front. Can the Austrian put herself in the medals here? Tied with Shelley Rudman, the current leader from the first heat. This young Austrian flyer needs her best run.
Whoa, 5:44 the first run, 5:39 in the second run. Her coach, Martin Rettel, the silver medalist from the 2002 games in Salt Lake, I'm sure he said to her, the only way you're going to beat this experienced field is to have a better start, and she just achieved that. And now she needs to have no mistakes up here.
Look how relaxed she seems. She's just exuding confidence.
Yeah, but she's got the world champion down below in the leader's box, knowing that, hey, come and get my time, Janine. I just posted a good one.
Quiet through horseshoe. She built her
Whoa,
lead.
not the
Shelley was
speed, though,
102.4.
too. She's on the same sled, same runners for the whole season. And she has had a breakout year to start with, but she's losing it back. Now this is where Rudman was flying. Afterburners for Rudman. Flock's going to need the same.
133 for Shelley.
No.
130 for Janine
Now
Flock.
she's going to fall back at least one, maybe two.
Will she stay in front of Melissa Hollingsworth?
5th best time. Yes, she does.
Second place, Shelley Rudman is in the medals.
But
She has not been lower than 2nd in 6 years here, Shelley.
Martin Rettel is not unhappy with that. His athlete came down, and in the field and all around her are all world champions, World Cup medalists, World Cup winners, and his athletes never won a World Cup race. She's got 2 medals in her career. She'll be back. This is a rising star for Austria right here. The crossover. Watch her come over. She doesn't want to get the flat wall. She came in a little late there. You want to come over here just on that little bit of that apex and like Shelley Rudman did.
But John, this is her breakout year. She'll go to the games for her first time ever. Shelley will go for her 3rd time. That's the experience deficit.
Similar frames right there in those two girls. Square shoulders, thin.
Lizzie Arnold of Great Britain, our World Cup leader, winner last week in Winterberg, win number 3 of the season in 5 starts. Can she produce what she did in 2012 in St. Moritz and take the gold medal?
Boy, she got on early right there. 5:40 start. She got on very early. Let's see what the start looks like. 5:37, maybe should have done that in the first run.
Yeah, maybe she felt she ran a step too far in the first heat, but look
Look
how
at these
low her
forms.
chin
Look at the
is.
chin. And this,
Unbelievable.
I just talked about Janine Flock and Shelley Rudman, their frames. This athlete here is very similar to Noelle Picus Pace. They're bigger framed athletes, bigger shoulders, but the weight seems like to give them a big advantage. Both of these athletes, Yarnold right here and Picus Pace coming up, have similar styles.
Wow, 0.05 of a second faster than Shelley from heat 1.
Speed coming up. Ooh,
She's
huge!
0.4 of a second
Same
up.
speed as Rudman.
102.2, Rudman 102.4.
Wow.
But this is a great run. This is Lizzie shooting for the win.
Oh, she's late there. That could have cost her. Looks like she flopped off that nameless curve.
Speed at the bottom. She
Ooh,
needs
front came out.
133 to beat Noelle Picus Pace or stand a chance.
Not the
129.
speed. She'll come back to the field. She will not accelerate, and what she will be at least.
She has the lead, but by 400ths of a second from 4/10 up, but she is the leader. Guaranteed 2 medals for Great Britain. Lizzie Arnold leads, Shelley Rudman second.
That mistake up on the nameless curve where she was almost airborne. It was the same mistake we saw from Melissa Hollingsworth. The bottom part of the track. Right here, look at this. This is late.
Skid.
There, that's a feet drag coming out, and then she crosses over too hard. Now she's got to look at this. Come back up. She'll have to come back up to the wrong straightaway, and that cost her a lot of time.
Fastest run we've seen today. So the girl from Sevenoaks in Kent is the leader. The girl from Orem, Utah was the first heat leader. Noelle Piker's pace doesn't have to beat Lizzie Arnold's time, but she needs to get very close. She had a 3/10 of a second advantage from the first heat. Family flew in secretly overnight to surprise her, and she's going to reward them potentially with her 3rd win of the season.
Well, she just doesn't have the best start. 5:56 in the first run. 23rd out of 24 start, and she's the leader. 5:53. She improved at the start like everybody else. Feed her out there.
Silver medalist in last year's World Championships here at the St. Moritz track. She knows how to get speed out of this.
Yeah, and she had a great second day against Shelley Rudman last year. She lost the race in the first day with mishaps out of curve 1. But you want to talk about form, speed merchant. We don't want to jinx her.
100th of a second is the advantage. She was 3/10 up from the first heat.
That's relative to the start. Speed on the left, 102-kilometer speed she's going to need, +5.
She's behind.
101 flat, so that's enough. This is where she becomes magical, and she's going to need to catch Lizzie Arnold at the bottom.
Couple of
skids, +6.
Okay.
But Arnold had no speed down here.
She needs the speed from this Protostar sled built by husband Jansen.
There it is.
3.4 the
Ridiculous.
fastest. She is going to win this race. What a superb performance from Noelle Piker's pace. 1:09.91. She is the fastest woman on ice in St. Moritz. She wins her 3rd gold medal of the season. She was the winner on the track in Calgary, disqualified because of an infringement on the taping of the handles. But Noelle Piker's pace wins in St. Moritz. There she is, and there she is again. There's the family down in the finish area. Husband Jansen Pace builds the sled. What a family deal it is. Not the Protostar, it's the Pace sled. There is her husband. Her kids are here as well. Her family are here in droves. She said, well done, Mummy. She said this is going to be the toughest track to leave behind when she retires at the end of the season, but it's leaving this or leaving them. That doesn't even come close to a choice. What a run. Noelle Piker's pace, injured, didn't go to Torino 2006, didn't make the cut in 2010 for Vancouver, but she will go to Sochi in 2014 as one of the favorites for glory. Can this mother of 2 from Utah, USA, claim victory as she has already so often this season? Well, there is her coach, Zach Lund. And win, lose or draw, Noelle always has a smile on her face. Lizzie Arnold second, Shelley Rudman third for Great Britain, but the gap first to the rest was big. Noelle Piker's pace pulled out 2 shockingly good runs here. Janine Flock, 4th place, great result. Melissa Hollingsworth, 5th. Katie Eulander is back and firing on all 12 cylinders with 6th position. Couple of disappointing days. Anja Huber, Marion Thies of Germany really struggling. The Aussies struggling here as well. But what a top result for Noelle Piker's pace. Well, breathless stuff from the women's skeleton. Women's bobsleigh, the second and deciding heat still to come. See the sleds in the start area getting ready. Runners up so that they don't get chilled too much by the ice, and they're then at ambient air temperature, which is what they're measured against to make sure they're not heated in any way, which would reduce the friction on the ice. Well, Noelle Piker's pace has had such a strong season this year in women's skeleton. One win taken away, but she still has 3 victories. Nobody other than Noelle and Lizzie Arnold of Great Britain has stood on the top step of the podium so far this year. And they and Shelley Rudman have got to be looked at as the real flyers in this women's skeleton field. Great news for the USA is that Katie Eulander is back and looking just as strong, as confident as ever, and she could well spring a surprise or two in the remainder of the season. Great news for Great Britain. Lizzie Arnold and Shelley Rudman spurring each other on to even greater achievements. And a good opportunity for British skeleton to finish in the medals again, as they have done in every Olympics where women's skeleton has featured. Alex Coomber, bronze medal in Salt Lake City. Silver for Shelley Rudman, of course, in Torino. And Amy Williams took the gold medal in Vancouver. British women's skeleton has an awful lot of history and heritage already in just 3 Olympic cycles. And Shelley Rudman and Lizzie Arnold will be looking to add to that medal haul, but it looks as though they might have to combat Noelle Piker's pace. Don't count out the likes of Melissa Hollingsworth, Katie Eulander, and the Russians, of course. Maria Orlova looking strong here, as was Olga Potilitsina. They were 7th and 8th, just out of the top 6 reckoning. But on home ice in Sochi, they might be right at the sharp end of the field. Two runs to decide victory, and Lizzie Arnold didn't come up with the top step of the podium, but still leads our world rankings from the other winner this season, Noelle Piker's pace, who claimed her 3rd victory here in St. Moritz. Shelley Rudman lies 3rd in the World Cup rankings, current world champion and former World Cup winner. And there are the rest. Not too many changes up and down the order. Katie Eulander progresses after sitting out in Winterberg last weekend. The rest she felt more important than the points. So our top 3, again, only 2 girls have won this season. Lizzie Arnold, who finished in the silver medal position, and Noelle Piker's pace, who claimed win number 3 of the year. Shelley Rudman on the podium there in 3rd place, where she won the World Championship last season here. And Noelle Piker's pace, standout first run. She was the very first woman to go and the very last as the top 20 went in reverse order for the 2nd heat. Both runs added up, and nobody beat her in either run. She was fastest on the ice in both occasions and won the race. And that means she's also in the running for the €100,000 euro Triple Crown prize. You've got to this year win the last 3 races of the season, St. Moritz, Eagles and Koenigsee, and be fastest in both heats. She's a 3rd of the way there. And that would be a great retirement gift from the FIBT. Well, let's get down to John Morgan in the finish area to hear from our top 3.
Our bronze medalist, Shelley Rudman. It's hard to believe it's your first medal of the season.
I know. I've had so many things happen, like my neck and illness over Christmas. So I'm really happy that I connected today and got a bronze medal.
Great runs, great speed on the bottom. And now over to another British athlete, Elizabeth. 2nd run, not so clean on the bottom. Could you feel it?
Well, you know, it's a good fun track. If you're not clean, you're not having fun. If you're clean, you're not having so much fun. So a few bumps and scrapes, there's no harm done. And we've got 2 Brits on the podium. I'm so proud of that because we show our strength in depth. So well done to Noelle as well. It was a great race.
Yeah, great race, silver medal, still the World Cup leader. Congratulations. And nice fan club on hand here for Noelle Piker's pace. And Noelle, 23rd best start, and you come down with the speed and the time. You were not the leader going into bridge, and then you found all this time on the bottom. What is it about this track?
I don't know. I just absolutely love it. It's been good to have some support here. My brother and sponsor Mountain Crane, they just showed up late last night and surprised me. Having my husband by my side on an awesome sled that fits me perfectly, that's just fast, and having great coaches and everybody. So it's just a good support team.
Well, I got to ask you, now you're 1/3 of the way to that $100,000 prize. If you have the fastest heat,
I didn't even think about that.
There's 3 heats, and you have to win all the heats, and you've got 2 of the heats so far. What do you think for the next week?
one curve at a time, one race at a time, and if it falls into that, then that's what happens, but if not, it's all right.
Great way to start. Congratulations, ladies.
Nobody is thinking too far ahead at the moment, are they? Because therein lies all sorts of paranoia. Now at Bikers Pace, Lizzie Arnold and Shelley Rudman. Well, Shelley's first medal of the season, but still, you've got to figure that she will join those two girls among the short list of favourites for the Olympic Games. And for Noelle, family and friends are what it's all about. So, women's skeleton is done for another season here in St. Moritz, but lots of sliding to come in the rest of the season and the rest of the day here in Switzerland. My thanks to John Morgan for calling the race. We'll be back in just a few moments with more action from St. Moritz.